continue discussing method. So in programming, we have learned that methods make our life easy as programmer because it help us properly organize our potentially long codes into smaller modules so that to make our program more maintainable and avoid recoding a set of statements or instructions that are repeated. Okay, that's basically the advantage of using method in programming. Okay, so we're going to dive directly into practical examples. Okay, so according to our discussion, method can be defined. It should be outside the other methods. Okay, so I'm going to go out of main method, and in here I can begin creating new methods. Now let's think of something that we can make use of methods. Previously in our activities, okay, typical operations that we commonly perform is to read a valid number, right? So why not we create a method for getting valid number until the valid number is provided. It's going to re-ask the user to enter an input, okay, enter a value through the keyboard. So we're going to do that. So initially, how are we going to do, what do you call this? Getting up inputs. So number one, so I'm going to begin with the traditional way or the old way of doing things, okay? Putting everything in the main method. So let me create an object for scanner. New scanner, system.in. We need a number, right? So we're going to prompt the user, enter a number, like that. Then we're going to declare a variable for that. Int number is equal to input dot next int. Okay, but we need a way to validate this. So usually what we do, we're going to place that inside the if statement. If input dot has next int, we can proceed to getting the number, right? And then something like that. Else, we will say invalid number, something like that. Try again. But what if I want to do this process until the user entered a valid number? What we can do, we can introduce a, what do you call that type of structure in programming? So that we can continuously or repeatedly do a process a number of times until we are satisfied with the result. Like we need a valid number here. So we're going to use a loop. So there are many types of loop. We can just use the while loop. Our option can be to use a non-ending loop, something like this, like that. Okay. And then if the loop is, if the number is, if the valid number is given, then we can just break it, right? But of course, after that, if we're going to do that, what if we entered an invalid number and then we bypass this, okay? It entered invalid number, try again. It will enter, it will display an invalid number, try again. Chances are this is going to become a non-ending loop. Let's try this out. Okay, so if I'm going to enter a valid number, it will work. But if I'm going to enter an invalid number, it will become an ending loop. Now, can anybody from the class introduce a fix to this logic or to this algorithm? Anybody from the class? What we need to do, we are entering or we are reading an integer. And when we do invalid input or invalid number, technically we're going to bypass this. And there is something, or there is still something in the keyboard buffer that is not consumed. So it's going to just repeat this, okay? The succeeding loop will just be the one that will be checked in this condition. So we have to introduce a way to remove or refresh the keyboard buffer. So how are we going to achieve that? Anyone? How do we clear the keyboard buffer? By reading it but disposing the content. Something like input that next line. So this will discard content of keyboard or input buffer while discarding it, because we are not assigning it to a variable. So in that, we could get a perfectly working program, something like this. It will only stop when we provided a valid number. Now, imagine I want to get another number here. Okay? What we will be doing if I'm going to have another number here. For example, this is number 2, and then this is number 1. And then imagine I need another number. Say it is for number 3. Okay, as we can see, okay, we can potentially shorten our code by using methods. Okay, because method can be used to encapsulate or store or group a set of tasks that is needed, okay, that is performed multiple times in our program. So rather than doing like this, we can just get the task or the statements and place them inside a method, right? So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to copy this. So I will have a method that is called get number. So this is the name of the method, okay? And then how do we define it exactly? We have to specify the modifier public to make it accessible anywhere, even in other methods or other program. Static so that we can call it directly. Okay, I'm going to show you later on the effect of static. Okay, and then it's going to return a value. So we're going to have a return value data type. We're going to make it int. Okay, and then the name of the method to be followed by optional parameters. Say we're not going to need a parameter this time. Okay, let's just leave it blank because that's just optional. And I'm going to paste here the code. Of course, I have to get also the scanner because that is needed. Okay, as you can see, this input is no longer readable inside this. You see those red text there? It says there that it cannot find the variable input. So this is about scope. When we say scope, it refers to where a variable can be referenced or can be used. So input basically is a object that is declared inside my main method, and it is only scope to this method. In other words, it is only available to this method. So in order for that to be also accessible or to be actually accessible in the method that needs it, I'm going to move it in there, something like that. Okay, so do you call that scope? Something like this, scope of variable. It's already in the note that I provided you. Okay, scope, something like that. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I should return this number. So what I can do, I can just return it directly, and I no longer need this break statement there, because return statement can also act as a terminator of the while. Okay? Not only that a return terminates a method, okay, return statement has a number of functions, or what do you call this? Roles. A return statement indicates the value that has to be returned. It also ends a method if it's encountered prematurely. When I say prematurely, typical return method are found at the end of the method, like what I gave you as an example. But a return statement can be found anywhere in the body of the method. Okay, like in our logic, when we have already captured a valid number, we want to return it immediately. Okay, and it's going to terminate the while loop after that. Okay, and we don't need to return or to add a return statement here anymore. Okay, that's the logic of that. And notice also, guys, that I removed the break statement because it is not necessary anymore. So return statement, okay, one role of it is to break a loop. Okay, of course, it's going to terminate the method, then even the while that it is located in, it's going to be broken. It's going to be stopped. Okay. Remember, or what do you call this? Take note of that use of a return statement. Return statement, basically, another alternative to this is something like this. Int number is equal to 0, something like that, or maybe just a blank one, and then at the end of this, return number, and of course, this should be the number, like that. Okay, but it says here unreachable statement. It says there because we have to add a break statement there. Okay, that's the alternative. But we can omit unnecessary code here, like this one. We don't need that. We don't need declaring another variable, and we don't need to place this in there. Okay, this is just a valid, but as you can see, I want to minimize. I like what I've said to you guys. Rule of thumb of programming, if you can make it concise without breaking the code, do it. It's better. Okay? So I'm just going to remove that one. Remove that one. I'm going to automatically return it when I get a valid number that is unnecessary, that is not necessary anymore. And I'm going to remove that too. Save. Okay? And also for now, I'm just going to remove this one. So in here, instead of doing these things, needing 3 numbers, I'm going to remove that. Okay, and then I'm just going to return here. I'm just going to declare here 3 numbers. Num1 is equal to get number, and num2 is equal to get number, and then in num3 is equal to get number. Okay, so I can display them already here. So, nums are, there should be quotes and quotes. Nums are, let me just use %f, more comfortable to do that. %f, printf rather, sorry. Printf are %d, %d, and passing num1, num2, and num3. Now, let's try this out. Okay, enter number 5, 3, 7. Nums are 5, 3, 7. As you can see, okay, it made our job simple, right? Did you notice that? Isn't it? Rather than typing those long codes just for getting a valid number, I just place it inside a method and call it. You mean invoke it, okay? Method call or invocation, or we invoke the method. Okay, we simply call them. It's going to perform what is inside it. Okay, and since this is a value returning method, it's just going to yield. It's just going to give us the value and place it in the variable num1, num2, num3 respectively. Did you get that? Okay, good. Now this time, as you can see here, I want this to be customized. Okay, I want this method to be custom for each call. How am I going to achieve that? So we can introduce parameters or formal parameters. Okay, so to make this method customized when we call it. For example, I'm going to add here string prompt. The string prompt there refers to the text that I want to tell the user when I enter the number. So for example, I'm just going to remove this one and instead of displaying enter a number, that hard-coded or literally value enter a number string, I'm just going to display the prompt there. So that when I go here, okay, as you can go here, you will notice that this is creating a syntax error. Why? Because get number is defined to require an argument, which is a string, okay? Therefore, I have to call it in such way. So let me have enter number 1, like that. And then enter, sorry for this, enter number 2, and then enter number 3. Okay, so as you can see, it is working already. So we have passed a literal string. You call it literal when it's hard-coded. It's literal value. That value will be saved to this parameter variable, that one. So in here, you call this argument. This is called argument in short, or yung the name of it, the long name of it is actual parameter. This one, this is formal parameter or parameter in short. Okay, when I say parameter, I'm referring to the variable inside the method definition. When I'm referring to argument or actual parameter, I am pertaining to the value that is passed when I call or invoke the method. Now, whatever you have passed here, that will be passed by value. In other words, for example, here I have a variable here, string string prompt. Enter number 1. For example, so I have here, okay, that's just okay. Okay, so instead of passing a literal value, I pass the value of a variable. I'm not passing the variable here. I am just passing its value. You call that pass by value. Okay, pass by value argument. So my argument content will be copied to the associated parameter here. Okay, I am not passing the variable. So when I'm going to change the prompt here, for example, I'm going to have my prompt, I'm going to change that to whatever. Okay, this will not affect this. Okay, it's just going to pass the copy. And of course, what will be displayed here will always be whatever is placed here, because we have removed or we have overridden. Okay, we have overridden or we have overwritten rather, we have overwritten the value of this variable. I'm going to remove that. That's not necessary. Okay, in here again, we are passing the value of this variable to the method in this method call. Take note of this term, of those terms, guys. Okay, that will be necessary for you, especially when you will be working with other programming language. Okay, let me try this one to demonstrate to you customization of a method. As you can see here, this is for the first method call, second method call, and then say we deliberately make it wrong. Okay, nums are 4, 3, 4. Okay, understood, guys? Understood? Okay, next, to make our methods documented, properly documented, so that when other developers will use our program, Okay, they can understand how it is used. We can use the Java documentation. Okay, IntelliJ makes it easy for us because it's going to automatically create for us the Java doc. But this is only for some IDEs. Okay, so the format is forward slash double asterisk. Press enter is going to automatically create for you a Java doc for this method. So this comments, this is a comment, okay? It's a form of comment. It's a Java documentation that's going to provide description for the method that we are using. For example, number getter. This allows the user, or this asks for valid number. Okay, the param is type string instruction to the user, and then it's going to return an int, which is the valid number. This is just an explanation of your code so that when you are going to use it, when you hover over it, you will see the documentation. This one, I gave that. This asks for valid number from, it's a string, the instruction to the user, and the valid number. I don't need to place this one. Let me do it again. Yeah, it perfectly worked. Okay, even the math.py. Okay, the math.py, we know what's going to use because it has some documentation. And look at that, it's very long. Okay, it's so very long, and you can type, you can create a document like that. Okay, the purpose of that is it aids you as a programmer to properly use that, especially when other programmers are going to use what you have created when you will publish your code later on. Okay, what are other things that I can basically simplify the use of, okay, and place them in a method? As you can see, system that out that printf is very long, right? I can basically simplify that. Okay, something like this. Public static again, since it's just going to display something or it's just going to perform a task, not giving a value, then I'm just going to type it as a void. It doesn't give a value, and therefore it doesn't have a return statement. So for example, I'm just going to name it as PF. Okay, print formatted. And then in here, what I will do is string, how are we going to call that? String format. String F for the format. And then this will be a challenge for us because this could be a variable length. That could be a variable length. By the way, there is something like this in Java. Object like this. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to introduce this to you later on. Okay, this one is basically variable number of parameters, meaning you can place any number of parameters in there. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. Let's just have a P. I'm not just going to do that. What I will just have is string text to print. Okay, and I'm just going to display that. Initially, it doesn't have an ln text, and place your text to print. And with that, I can basically rewrite this in shorter way. Okay, I can just say P, and then the text that I want to print, then I can say nums are class num1 plus space plus num2 plus space, and then plus num3. Okay? Sure, halos magka-size lang naman sila because of the concatenation. As you can see, I simplified the name of my printer, system.out.print, with P. And what it does is just going to display the text that I'm going to pass into it. So if I'm going to run this again, it's just going to have the same result. Okay? Okay, understood, people of the Philippines? Of course, I don't want to forget my Java doc here, so I can have text printer prints any string argument or parameter, something like that. Text to print the text, or this is a string, the text to print. So this is the type. You have to specify the data type of what it is asking for. Okay, so that when you are hover over it, you need a documentation over that. It's just going to give you it. Okay, string and then dot. Okay? So this one, I want you to be, I just want you to get used to this practice because it's necessary. Okay? What else that we can do? For example, I have here a long code. And I don't have it anymore, the long code for that. Okay? We put everything in one method, the long code. And as you can see, all the processes that we are doing here, the operations, the statements are basically repetitive. They are repeated. So we can make this concise, okay, and make our life easy. So as we can see here, this involves just 3 subjects: math, science, English, math, science, English, math, science, English for 3 students. Okay? And we are getting the total score, the average, and then we identify whether the grade is pass or fail. Now, we can certainly condense this in a modularized code or program. So we're going to do that. Now we can already incorporate our knowledge about arrays here. I'm just going to create an array for subject and then an array for the grades, which is comprised of 3 elements each. Okay? So I'm going to create that. So I'm going to declare here a string subject, string subjects. Okay? You can place the square bracket there or beside the string. No problem with that. And I'm going to initialize it with this value, math, science, English. Okay? Do not forget array. And then I will have int grades. Okay? New int. Okay, we're going to input that integer later on. We have to specify here the size, which is 3. 3 to correspond to this number of subjects. The first element grade will be for math, the second will be for science, and the third will be for English. Now this time we're going to get those grades. So are we going to do that? We can use loop, right, to populate the content of this array. So for in I is equal to 0, I is less than subjects dot length. Okay, instead of using 3, we just have to make it dynamic because we can just edit this and make it accommodate more subjects. Okay, so this is more dynamic when we just refer to the subject length or the array length. Okay, then I plus plus. Okay, so this time I'm going to use my methods that I have defined here, which is the get number. Okay, but by the way, what if the grade has decimal points, right? Isn't it? So basically, we can create another method of this same name. Okay, another method of this same name, but with different return type. We're just going to discuss that later on, but this time I'm just going to use this and be content to getting full numbers grade. Okay, so I'm going to get that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is do the prompting, something like this. Get number, how, okay, the purpose of static here, guys, is I can directly use that, okay, in another method, another class. For example, in here, I can have methods to dot get number, like that. Okay? The reason why I can directly use it like math.pow, math.square root, and so on and so forth is because it is defined as a static. Secondly, I can use get number of the class methods to here, separate class, because it is public. If this is private, I can no longer access it here. This will create an error. Okay? That's the purpose of that. And then, if I'm going to remove static there, I can no longer use it here. Okay? So it's important that you make it a public static. More things on that later on when we will be on object-oriented programming. Okay? Be content with the same way we use the math method, math.random, math.pow. Okay? That's just the same. Okay? Methods too is like your math class. Get number is like those methods that we used to use in our program. Now, I'm going to say enter subject, enter grade for. How do we access the name of the subject? We can dynamically access that because we are inside the for loop. We can just plus subjects and then I. Okay? So we are basically getting the grade for the subjects individually. So this is 0 initially. That's going to look from math up to English. And one thing that we have forgotten here, we did not assign the value of the return value into a variable. We just want to place it in the grades at I. Okay? At this grades.I index, I'm going to get a valid number with this prompt indicating the subject name. So if I'm going to do that, okay, if I'm going to run this one, system.exit 0. Okay, system.exit is just another way of prematurely exiting the program. It's going to disregard the rest of the program. Okay? Let me run that one. As you can see here, this is dynamic. I just forgot semicolon there. Let me add the semicolon before we continue. In here, plus semicolon. Okay? Stop and run. Enter grade format 89, 90, 91. Okay, it's working. And it exceeded. It did not perform. Yes, because we don't want this to be executed right now. Okay, so we are redesigning our program. The second thing that we are going to do now is we can process it by getting the average and determining whether it is pass or fail. This time we can already create another method. We can just call it process grades. Okay, and then let me introduce to you that we can also pass array. Okay, we can also pass array as argument to methods. Now we have to define here the method that should process the grade. So we are just going to call it as public. We are going to modify it as public static. What is the return type? We just want to print it. What is the return type? Will it be any data type or will it be a void return type? We are not going to return a value, we just display it. So we're going to make it void because it will not have a return value like what we did here in the P method. Okay, so public static void process grades. This time we have to accommodate or accept the subject and the grades array. Okay, so we can define it like this: string and then subjects or subject and then in grades. Okay, I just termed it differently so you understand that the name of my parameters is not dependent on the name of the variables, the name of the variables that I'm going to indicate later on as an argument. They are independent. So this one, it is accepting two arrays. One is string, another is an integer. Like what I've said in the lesson that I discussed, parameters can be of any data type. It can be primitive data type. It can be arrays. It can be even class data type. We can even pass the scanner object here if we need it so. But we do not need it here. We do not need that yet. So I'm just going to have the array parameters. Okay, so I'm just going to pass it here. So first the subject, and then second the grades. So subject will, okay, when we are passing arrays, we are not actually wait. Okay. Okay, so nakagawa tayo dito ng pamamaraan na tumatanggap ng pagkain. Okay, so gumawa tayo dito ng method. At kakaiba yung method natin ngayon dito kasi it is accepting an array argument. Ngayon, kakaiba ang process kapag array or even class yung pinapasa natin as argument. They are not basically copying, hindi niya kinokopya yung pinapasa natin. Ang pinapasa niya is yung reference. Okay? So for array, kapag binago natin yung laman niya dito, mababago na. Tignan nyo, baguhin ko itong laman ni subject. At yung second, gawin ko siyang maturog. Tignan nyo yan babaguhin nyo yan. Subject 1, ipasa natin sa dito. Ngayon, i-display ko dito. Gamitin natin yung methods 2.p. Okay? Yan, shortcut lang yan ni system.out.print. Ginawa na natin yan. Okay? Methods 2.p, pasa natin si subjects at index 1. Tignan nyo kung anong mangyari dyan. Yan maturog na yung laman niya. Okay, gusto kong mag-gets nyo na kapag nagpasa tayo ng array, ng class, hindi niya kinokopya yung value. Unlike yung kanina, ito, where is that now? Here, unlike here, this one, kinokopya niya yung laman. Kaya pag binago natin doon sa function that we call, walang effect doon sa original variable. Because ang pinapasa natin ay kopya lang. Kopya. Pero dito, we are not passing the copy but reference. In other words, ibang pantawag dito sa array na ito. So, in essence, iisang array lang yung tinatawag natin. Kaya kapag in-access natin yung array dito, we are basically calling the same array object that we have passed as argument in here. This is only different, this is only true for array and class na argument. Okay, I want you to learn that. Okay, now what I will do now is I'm going to process the grades here. So, same process na gagawin natin. Gagawa tayo ng for loop. For in I is equal to 0, I is less than subject. We just need the first array kasi parehas lang naman sila. Length, and then I plus plus. Okay, so what we will do here, gagawa tayo dito ng variable to store our sum. Okay, and another variable, let's just make it as 0. And then average, ang laman din niya ay 0. Kamali ako, dapat walang semicolon doon. We are doing a mass declaration and mass assignment. Ngayon, for the sum, I'm just going to add here yung laman ni grades. So, grades at index I. In other words, yung tatlong grades na yon, dadaan sa loop na ito, individually i-add natin kay sum. Okay? Sa labas nito, kukuhanin ko na yung average, which is sum divided by, ano nalagay ko dito? Subject dot length. Okay. And then, pwede na natin i-display yung grades. So, paano natin i-display yung grades isa-isa? Pwede na rin natin sa i-display dito. So, gamitin natin yung methods. Di ba? Nakita nyo yung kagandahan ng methods? Yung reuse mo na lang. Para maiwasan yung mahaba na code, yung paulit-ulit na code. So, i-display na lang natin dito yung sub j at I, okay, class, colon, tapos ilagay natin dito yung grades niya, which is grades at I. Okay? And then of course, do not forget to add set \n kasi print lang yung ginamit natin kay P. Okay? Huwag niyong kalimutan yan. That's that one. Tingnan nga natin dito kung meron pa tayong kailangan lagyan. Okay, wala na. Yan lang. And then the second thing, ayun dito, i-display natin yung total score, yung average, and then yung grade. Okay? So, gamitin natin yan. So, methods. Kung ayaw nang mag-call ng methods 2, di gumawa na lang kayo dito ng panibagong P method para P lang yung i-type nyo. Okay lang din yan. Method.P. Okay? Ang ipiprint na natin dito ay yung total score. Do not forget, again, do not forget \n. Total score will be plus sum. Okay? Kopyahin na natin yan. Tatlo. Okay? Average score is AVG or AVG. And then, lagay natin dito yung grade daw kung pass or fail. So, pwede natin gamitin din yung ginamit dito, which is, ang tawag dito ay ternary operator. Shortcut yan ng if-else. Okay? Okay, ito yung condition. Ano ang value na i-return mo kung true? Anong value na i-return mo? Or i-yield mo kung false? Okay? Maraming gumamit na sa inyo yan. Okay, so gamitin natin dito yung AVG. AVG is greater than or equal to 75 daw. Kung ganyan ang grade, question mark, isasama natin yung pass. Kung hindi, fail. But of course, this will create an error. We have to group that with parentheses. Okay, something like that. Okay, so let's run this one. Run. Enter grade format. 90, 95. For English is, sabihin natin, bobo siya sa English. Okay, average niya is 83. And then, pass siya. Now, tatlong student yon. Anong gagawin natin to make it more student? So, pwede natin gawin, ilagay na lang ito. Alisin ko na ito kasi hindi na natin kailangan yan. Tignan nyo sa pagkahaba-haba ng main method, ganyan na lang yung kalalabasan. Pero to completely duplicate the original content of this, we can enclose this with, what struct is that? Or structure? We can use again while loop in here. Okay? While, we can do the true infinite loop again. That's just okay. Like that. And then, we can just prompt the user. Okay, for example, int C or choice is equal to get number. Okay, methods 2.get number. Another student. 1, 2, make it yes. Something like that. Okay. Then, if C is not equal to 1, then we just break it. Okay? Para ma-stop na yung loop. And then, maglagay tayo dito ng counter. Let's add a counter here. In count, we begin from 1. And then we're going to change this enter grade here. We just have to say methods 2.p. Then we say grades for student plus count. Like that. And do not forget to increment count here. Like that. Okay? I'm going to print to save that and run it. Okay. Oh, we forget. Dapat maglagay tayo dito na /n kasi print lang yung ginamit natin doon, di ba? Yan. Para pumunta siya sa new line. Okay, grades for student 1. Enter grade for math. 90, 91, 92. Okay? So, yan na yung kanya. Maglagay na lang tayo dito ng yan. Maglagay tayo dyan ng another ngalan nito. Dito na lang. Maglagay tayo na lang dito. Methods 2.p. Maglagay tayo dito ng maraming \n. Dalawa lang pala. Okay? Ayan. Hoy. Bakit hindi ka bumaba? Mali yung pinaglagyan ko. Dapat ito. Saan natin nilagay dapat yan? Dito. Right. Dito dapat. Okay. Okay. So yan, pass siya. Another student. Kapag nag-1 ako, kapag mali yung pinasok ko, uulitin niya, invalid number, try again. Another student, tingnan niya, inuulit-ulit niya. Okay? Pag 2, hindi na niya magko-continue, pero pag mag-1, uulitin niya, enter grades for student 2. Okay? Pagsak. Kapag anything rather than 1, i-exit na niya yung program. So as you can see, our program now is cleaner, right? Ito lang laman niya, oh. Yan. Kasi, dinivide na natin yung mga processes into methods. Nakita niyo yung beauty ng methods? Nakita niyo yung advantage ng methods? Now, do not forget, again, to add Javadoc here. Okay. Okay, Javadoc begins with /$ Okay, huwag isa lang. Kapag isa lang yung normal lang na multi-line comment yan. Pero pag ganyan, automatic pa nang bibigyan ng ganito. Process grades. This displays the grades of the student. Okay? Parang subject string array. Okay, the list of subjects. Then int the list of grades. Pag in-over nyo dito, yan. Ayan o. Papakita niya sa inyo. Okay? Not null. Any question? Tignan ko nga kung nag-gets yung paggamit ng methods using by solving a problem.